morning, everyone. We're going to be starting here in just a minute, but this is a great chance to say hello, to wave in the chat or turn on your camera for a moment and say hi to folks, to move to that gallery view, that grid view where we can see each other's faces and say hello as we come into this space. This is going to be a fun morning, y'all. We're going to have some great music and celebrate an amazing person that is Dolly Parton. So I wore my sparkliest earrings just for the occasion. And we're going to get started here in just a minute, but come on in and say hello. And if you're joining us on Facebook, you can say hello in the chat there as well. And if you want to turn your camera on and wave hello and then turn your camera off later on in the service, that's fine. Or if you want to leave your camera off the whole time, we're just glad you're here, and we hope you are settled where you are and getting ready to join us in the service this morning. This is that time when I always sort of imagine us all coming into the virtual narthex, right? That transitional space between the rest of our lives and this hour that we spend together on Sunday mornings. So welcome into this sanctuary, wherever you are at. It is wonderful to see you here this morning. And let's go ahead and get started with our service. Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Society of Santa Barbara. Welcome into this loving community of seekers who strive to live with integrity, nurture wonder, and inspire the actions that transform us and transform the world. I'm the Reverend Julia Hamilton, and I'm delighted to be joining with you on this 4th of July morning for a special service, a service unlike anything I've ever done before. Actually, we're going to be talking about Dolly Parton. And it turns out I don't own a single piece of clothing with rhinestones on it. So I had to put on my rhinestone earrings and wear my sparkliest top in honor of Dolly Parton this morning. And whether you are wearing rhinestones or not, you are welcome here today. Welcome to all of the friends and family we have joining us. We've got a wonderful group of folks helping me lead worship this morning, and you can say hello to Eden Kennedy in the chat or say hi on Facebook in the comments section. Devin Nelson, one of our worship associates, and Justine Sutton will be joining us this morning, and we have some very special music. We've got members of our own congregation sharing their musical talents, covering some Dolly songs, and we've got special guests, Shannon Noel and Stacy Burrows, who are better known as Mommy Tonk. They are a hilarious country duo, been friends of mine for a long time, and I'm delighted that they could share their love of Dolly with us this morning, cover some of her songs, and offer up some of their own irreverent wit in honor of Dolly Parton. So I'm really thrilled to have them joining us later on in the service. This summer, this is going to be my last Sunday here with you until August, but you are in good hands. This summer, you are invited to go on a little virtual road trip. We're doing a collaborative series of services with congregations in our area. So each summer, a different congregation's team is going to be leading services, and everybody will be joining us right here on this Zoom link. So you don't have to even learn a different Zoom link. You can just click through and you will find yourself in the company of Unitarian Universalists from across our area gathering together this summer to get to know each other, to worship together, and to build those connections that sustain us. So I hope you'll join us. And if you have kids or are a part of a family and want to join in, the RE professionals, the religious educators, are going to be doing RE together in the same way at 9 o'clock on Sunday mornings. So you're invited to stick around and join us for our virtual summer road trip for the rest of this month and into the beginning of August. And there's going to be excellent coverage while I am away on some study leave and vacation. Our pastoral care team is, of course, here to respond to any needs as they come up. And a colleague of mine, Reverend Kristen Rom, will be working with our care team to make sure that they have the support they need, should you need it. And just a reminder, if you do find yourself going through a hard time or a rough transition, we want to know about it so that we can reach out with some care and support. So please don't hesitate to contact our care team. I invite you now to take a breath, to settle yourself wherever you are, to arrive here. Remember that wherever you are is a sanctuary. And as I ring our bowl gong, let the sound of the bell connect us. As we get ready to light our chalice this morning, I invite you, if you have a candle or a chalice handy, now is the time to get ready to light it together. And if you'd like to type into the chat or the comment section where you are, you can type in "chalice is lit" and the name of the street or the town you're joining us from. So whether you're lighting a real flame or a virtual flame, we can see all of our lights coming together this morning. And I invite Devin Nelson to read our words for communal chalice lighting.
We light our chalice this morning with words from Dolly Parton that she shared on her birthday this past January. This year, my wish is a call for kindness. We can't just hope for a brighter day. We have to work for a brighter day. Love too often gets buried in a world of hurt and fear. We have to work to dig it out so we can share it with our family, our friends, and our neighbors. So today, let's get to unearthing love.
Thank you, Devin. Every Sunday, we have a practice of acknowledging and recognizing places where we see more love and justice coming to life in the world. We call it our love and justice jar, and it's a virtual jar. When we're in person, we had an actual physical jar where we put in slips of paper, but this year we have a virtual jar. And we want to add to this virtual jar each and every Sunday places where you've seen people take action to make the world a more loving place, just like Dolly talked about in the chalice lighting. And we lift up something in our community or wider world where we see more love and justice emerging. So go ahead and add your contributions to the chat or the comment section. If you've seen someone take an action, whether a small or large, let us know about it so that we can all be inspired by it. And this Sunday, for our collective contribution to the jar, I want to lift up something that I just learned about, which is called tree equity, right? So tree equity is the realization that if you lay a map over our cities of income, you will also find out that the places with the most income have the most trees and the lowest income have the least trees. And so there is an effort called community relief that is working to address this inequity in our urban forests. And this is important for so many reasons. But as the recent heat waves have shown us, things like trees provide critical infrastructure to our lives. They keep us cool. They help protect us from the ups and downs of that we will be increasingly experiencing due to climate change. And so I've just been inspired to learn something new, a new thought about this thing called tree equity, and watching out for those people who know that planting a tree can also be an act of justice. So kudos to all of you who are working to reforest our cities. This is the first Sunday of the month here in July, and that means it is time for our birthday blessing. Every month we invite those of you who have a birthday that month to share a photo or let us know it's your birthday so that we can celebrate you and send you our love. So if you have a birthday or if you have someone you know who you want to celebrate, you can type that into the chat and let us take a minute to send some love towards all our July birthday babies. please take a moment and join with me in the spirit of blessing to send some love out to all of you who are celebrating your birthdays this July. May this coming year unfold for you with joy. May you have friends to laugh with you in the good times and cry with you in the hard times. May you be surrounded by love and good music and all of the things that bring richness and depth to your life. May your heart grow more compassionate. May your mind be filled with wonder, and may your soul grow deeper. The world is a richer place because you are in it, and we are so glad that you were born. Happy birthday. And now let's kick off some of the great music this Sunday with our first piece, which is recorded by some of our own Unitarian Society musicians, including our new DRE, Charlotte Brigante, as they sing Light of a Clear Blue Morning.
Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. It's gonna be okay.
We have such fabulously talented musicians in our congregation, wonderful singers. And I want to use this moment to remind everybody to keep an ear out for the music ministry vision team that's going to be helping us figure out our vision for our new music director, who we hope to be hiring this fall. So when you get that invitation to participate in visioning what a music could be for this congregation going forward, please jump on in and let us know. I invite you now into a time of reflection and meditation. I invite you to take a breath, to remind yourself that you have a body in space, to feel your feet on the floor or perhaps against the chair or the couch or the bed, wherever you find yourself this morning. And I'm going to start with a poem or a prayer. I'm not sure which it is. It emerged, and then we'll enter into a time of quiet together. As 4th of July was approaching, I found myself asking, as I often do these days, where do we go from here? Here, right here, right now, July 4th, 2021, eyes open and hearts awake. As we shake off the isolation of the past year and a half, as I look around at this nation of ours, this country that is glorious and troubled, awash in new histories emerging from old hurts, statues of broken men tumbling from pedestals of painful truths about the way we came to be. And the only way forward that I can see is to carry love like a beacon. Let us be humble in all things but love. Let us be audacious in our open-heartedness. Let us dream dreams of liberations so impossible they call us fools. Let us burst into the sky with improbable hopes that someday this, all this, even this America becomes beloved. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen. I invite you now into a time of quiet reflection, meditation, or prayer to reflect on what it means to be beloved on this 4th of July weekend. So preparing for this service, I went down a bit of a rabbit hole. As I explored the life and story of Dolly Parton, I found out so many things that I just had no idea about. And as I was trying to figure out which of these things to share, I realized that I'm just going to have to bullet point out some of the fun facts that I discovered about Dolly Parton that you might enjoy learning. And if you like this, I highly recommend the podcast Dolly Parton's America, which was a wonderful way into this subject matter. But here's a few fun things you might not know about Dolly Parton. Her official title at the Dollywood Company is Dreamer-in-Chief. She is the only musician to have a top 20 hit in every decade from 1960 to 2010. Her production company, Sand Dollar Productions, co-produced the TV show Buffy the Vampire Slayer. She said no to Elvis when he wanted to record her hit I Will Always Love You, because he wanted to keep half of all future publishing rights to the song. And even though she cried herself to sleep that night for saying no, he could not record it, she held firm and held on to the song that would become one of her most famous. She started writing songs as a toddler, and her first song when she was just, maybe 2 or 3 years old was Little Tiny Tassel Top, about her corncob doll, and her mother wrote down the lyrics. Her Imagination Library program, which mails out monthly free books to kids from birth to age 5, has donated over 140 million books, earning her the nickname the Book Lady. She once entered a Dolly Parton lookalike contest and lost. Over 2.5 million people visit Dollywood, her theme park, every year. She's been married to her husband, Carl Dean, for over 54 years. And most recently, she's donated $1 million toward the development of the COVID-19 vaccine to Vanderbilt University in Tennessee, which was researching the vaccine that would become the Moderna vaccine, which many of you have probably received, and you can give a little piece of thanks to Dolly for that development. And so, ending our list of just a few of the fun facts you might want to know about Dolly with that vaccine generosity, I'm going to invite Justine Sutton to share with us a version of Vaccine, sung to the tune of Jolene. Dolly Parton herself wrote a sort of riff on Jolene with the word vaccine, and Justine Sutton added a few verses.
Vaccine, 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 vaccine. Come on now and roll you up your sleeve. Vaccine, 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 vaccine. Be sure and get you one before you leave. Now it might bring you chills and aches, but it gives far more than it takes to keep us safe from COVID, that vaccine. I know it's been a long, long wait in that line to vaccinate, but this is what we've got to do, vaccine. Vaccine, 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 vaccine. Come on now and roll you up your sleeve.
So it turns out I'm not the only person who loves Dolly Parton in this congregation, and so I would like to invite Devin Nelson to share a reflection about her story involving Dolly Parton.
Justine, that was great. That was awesome. So a few years ago, my sister and I went to see Dolly Parton when she came to perform at the Santa Barbara Bowl. My wife bought me tickets and said, "You can go, but please don't take me, take somebody else." So of course I thought of my sister. And so we went and had a wonderful time. Dolly was joyous and effervescent. And when I reflect on the concert, I realized that just Dolly's attitude towards life had a few lessons for me. Dolly was just so unequivocally herself on stage. At one point, her bedazzled belt broke and spewed little pieces of rhinestones all over the stage. And maybe some people would have gotten flustered or tried to move around it when things get wrong, but not Dolly. She just talked to us and cracked a few jokes while she waited for the nice looking gentleman in black to sweep up the stage. And of all of the skills that I work on, going with the flow is one that I always come back to. It seems a lesson that I need to hear time and again. And you know those little inspirational bookmarks? There's the ones that say like, be like a mountain or be like an eagle. And then one of them is like, be like a river. And there's little quotes on the bookmark and they're all reminders of how to like, just go with the river, like go with the flow of things. And when Dolly's belt broke, she just went with it. When things don't go quite the way you planned, you just go with it and you have a laugh. And it was just so relaxing. It was such a lovely message. On one of the tunes, Dolly was playing the saxophone, and I don't know if she was actually playing the saxophone or if it wasn't one of her backup musicians, but it sounded great and we didn't really care who was playing. But then Dolly quipped, "Did you know I can play the saxophone backwards?" And my musician brain starts thinking about how the music she is playing and wondering if she's going to play it in the melodic technique of retrograde, which is where you have a melody that's going one direction and then you literally play it backwards. Or maybe she's going to like turn the saxophone mouthpiece upside down or something. But then, so that's my brain, right? It's going into overdrive, taking her words seriously, trying to imagine what the outcome will be. But then she just proceeds to turn around with her back facing the audience while continuing to play the saxophone and waggling her tush at us all. And a piece of simple stage performance, but a change in perspective. And this time, Dolly reminded me not to take things so seriously all the time. This concert was part of Dolly's Pure and Simple tour. Of her backup musicians, there was no drummer on stage. And Dolly explained to the audience that when she had announced the name of her tour, Pure and Simple, to her band, the drummer had made a comment about her looks. He had said something to the effect of, "Oh, so you're gonna do this tour without all your makeup and your getup, just pure and simple." Well, Dolly fired him and said that she went to the music store and got one of the fancy drum machines to replace the drummer. So Dolly doesn't let anybody tell her how she should or shouldn't look. And what a powerful message she told that night about standing up for yourself. And Dolly helped me remember to surround myself with people who support me. And then of course, there's the music. I don't think Dolly gets quite enough credit for writing the vast majority of her material. And while classical composers are quick to judge popular music, it is composition that Dolly does. She sets her poetry to music in ways that clearly move people. I do not need a composer's music to be complex to laud it for its genius. Take, for example, the first stanza of one of my favorite songs that she wrote called Wildflowers. "The hills were alive with wildflowers, and I was as wild, even wilder than they. For at least I could run, they just died in the sun, and I refused to just wither in place." And I refused to just wither in place. I refused, I persisted, and then nevertheless she persisted, that strong persona. Dolly's songs speak to the human experience, reflecting our lives back to us, giving us hope for a better future and showing us that we are all precious. And I don't remember if Dolly sang Wildflowers that night, but I'll never forget her warm personality, how she went with the flow, took it easy, and reminded us to always stand up for ourselves.
Thank you so much, Devin, for sharing your experience with Dolly Parton. And now I am delighted to welcome Mommy Tonk here with us this morning. And I'm delighted not only because are they fabulous musicians who sing beautiful covers of Dolly songs, but they also share the kind of irreverent wit that Dolly Parton is famous for. She was always ready to crack a joke at her own expense before anybody else could. And so not only are Shannon and Stacy fabulously talented musicians, they're also some very funny women. And so I'm glad that they could join us and participate this morning. These are recorded pieces that they made for the service, but you might notice them pop up in the chat as well.
Thank y'all for gathering today. We're just gonna do a reading from the book of Dolly Parton. Because honestly, please don't stop loving me, for I couldn't live with you gone. Please don't stop loving me, for I couldn't make it alone. You bring me the sunshine when none is in sight, and when I'm in darkness, you bring me a beer. What? Oh, sorry, I read that wrong. I read that wrong. Anyway, you guys, let's just take a moment now to honor and admire and adore. I just think she's a living angel.
She
sent
is.
from God above.
Look at this, y'all. Just look at this.
What are you looking at? That's a cool microphone. That's where my eyes went.
I was looking at her heels. Y'all look at that.
I was actually looking at her waistline. I'll tell you where I wasn't looking, because my eyes are up here. Anyway, I'm going to get a pair of sunglasses that say my eyes are down there. Anyway, you guys, Dolly Parton, she's a 1 in a million. Love her to death.
Love her. She's our hero.
She's a philanthropist.
She is a genius songwriter.
She's a philosopher.
She is a giver.
Poet.
Lover.
I've never been with her, but people who have
Hell,
say
you
she's
brought her.
pretty good. Anyway,
Jesus, so
I don't know what the hell we're talking about. I bet she's a good lover, don't you think?
I think she's, oh, can you imagine? I can.
I bet you can. This got weird.
Okay. Anyway, happy Sunday, y'all. Happy 4th of July.
God bless Dolly Parton.
Jolene, 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 I'm begging of you, please don't take my man. Jolene, 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 please don't take him just because you can. Your beauty is beyond compare, with flaming locks of auburn hair, with ivory skin and eyes of emerald green. Your smile is like a breath of spring, your voice is soft like summer rain, and I cannot compete with you, Jolene. He talks about you in his sleep, there's nothing I can do to keep from crying when he calls your name, Jolene. And I can easily understand how you could easily take my man, but you don't know what he means to me, Jolene. Jolene, 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 I'm begging of you, please don't take my man. Jolene, 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 please don't take him just because you can. You could have your choice of men, but I could never love again. He's the only one for me, Jolene. I had to have this talk with you. My happiness depends on you, and whatever you decide to do, Jolene. Jolene, 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 I'm begging of you, please don't take my man. Jolene, 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 please don't take him, even though you can.
It's hard not to sing out loud with the chorus of that song. Every Sunday at the Unitarian Society, we give away a portion of our offering to a project or a program that helps live our values out in the world. And this month of July, we're partnering with the Unitarian Universalist Justice Ministry of California. And we will give away 25% of everything we collect in our Sunday offerings to support this network of Unitarian Universalists across the state who are working on urgent issues that affect us all, issues like environmental justice, immigration justice, and racial justice, helping increase our power by organizing us for a voice in Sacramento and across our state on the issues that matter. So I'm proud to partner with this statewide network, and I hope you will join me in supporting the work of the Unitarian Universalist Justice Ministry. The information on how you can give is right here on the screen. It's also in the chat, and you can click through at any time. And I invite you now to read with me the affirmation of gratitude and giving that's going to come up. The words will be on the slide in front of you. And this is when you can unmute yourself so we can hear each other's beautiful voices. Of course, it will be a little out of sync, but I love hearing you read this together every Sunday. Let us be grateful.
Let's be grateful when we are able to give many privileges. Let us be grateful for those who share their gifts to us. And we are and let us be grateful for our needs. We may learn of the generosity of others.
Tumble out of bed and I stumble to the kitchen, pour myself a cup of ambition, yawn and stretch and try to come to life. Jump in the shower and the blood starts pumping. Out on the streets the traffic starts jumping, with folks like me on the job from 9 to 5. Working 9 to 5, what a way to make a living, barely getting by. It's all taking and no giving. They just use your mind and they never give you credit. It's enough to drive you crazy if you let it. 9 to 5 for service and devotion. You would think that I would deserve a fair promotion. Want to move ahead, but the boss won't seem to let me. I swear sometimes that man is out to get me. They let you dream just to watch them shatter. You're just a step on the boss man's ladder, but you got dreams he'll never take away. In the same boat with a lot of your friends, waiting for the day your ship will come in and the tide's gonna turn and it's all gonna roll your way. Working 9 to 5, what a way to make a living, barely getting by. It's all taking and no giving. They just use your mind and you never get the credit. It's enough to drive you crazy if you let it. 9 to 5, yeah, they got you where they want you. There's a better life and you dream about it, don't you? It's a rich man's game, no matter what they call it, and you spend your life putting money in his wallet.
Stop putting money in his wallet. Look, if you want to find a place to put your money, might we suggest the offertory plate or the link in the chat, however they're doing things today. You can give your money to Julia, and Julia will give your money to God. She knows where to find them.
It's a direct line.
It's a direct deposit. They have a thing. So give your money, be generous, and Julia will know what to do with it. She knows. Thank you for giving your money. God wants you to give.
He wants you to give.
Oh, I felt it.
Dadgummit, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Tumble.
Oh, I knew you were gonna start. Okay, let's do it for real. We can do this.
Yeah.
Feel it.
Feel it. Thank you, Jesus.
You're welcome. See how easy that is?
This
Always
kid,
give
this
thanks.
kid.
Always give thanks.
For the ones you love and
That's
worship.
right.
I appreciate their confidence in me with the offertory plate. Now you might be thinking to yourself, what are we doing with a whole service devoted to Dolly Parton, right? But of course, we are not the only people who are recognizing that maybe Dolly Parton's influence on our lives goes beyond singing some great songs. And so I'm going to start with this reading from this book called Pilgrimage to Dollywood. And it's actually written by a woman who's a professor here at UCSB. She's a classics professor, but also loves Dolly Parton. And so wrote a book about her own pilgrimage to Dollywood. And I'm going to start with an excerpt from this book. Reflecting back on my life, I realized that I have often had this feeling of not belonging. I suspect that everyone feels this sometimes, but not everyone looks to Dolly Parton for consolation. She is the poster girl for not fitting in but being fabulous anyway. My late father, a Greek Cypriot who immigrated to England as a teenager to work in restaurant kitchens and send money back to his family in Cyprus, also used to listen to Dolly Parton. "This is our music," he would say when Jolene came on the radio. When as a child I felt too large, too loud, and too Greek, with a fondness for wearing sparkly tops and rainbow leg warmers, I never felt that I would be too much for Dolly, who often quips that she is flashier than a drag queen's Christmas tree. She has also said, "I've always been a freak and different, oddball even in my childhood and my own family, so I can relate to people who are struggling and trying to find their true identity. I do not sit in the seat of judgment. I love people for who they are." To be loved just as you are. This is a core human longing. Perhaps you are lucky and this feeling of being held in love comes easily to you, but perhaps it's been hard and you've had to learn how to feel loved and lovable. Perhaps someone once told you that you were not worthy of love, and you've been working all your life to undo that damage. Perhaps this longing is what brought you through the doors of the Unitarian Society in the first place. No matter who you are or where you come from, I think this is a lifelong spiritual project for all of us, being open to the idea that yes, you are worthy of love. No matter who you've been or who you are becoming, or what you carry with you from your past, or what you've lost or broken, or how you have hurt or been hurt, you are still loved. Isn't this the fundamental component of so many country songs, that imperfect people leading imperfect lives still chase after love, even after having had their hearts broken time and time again? This idea that each and every human being is worthy of love is also one of the core messages of Unitarian Universalism. And I've come to understand that it's at the heart of why Dolly Parton has such appeal across a broad swath of America. Dolly Parton communicates with her presence that she loves you. She may not know you. She may not ever even be in the same room with you, but from every account I have read or heard about in my research for this service, it's something that just radiates from her. The film critic Roger Ebert said it this way: "I had a one-on-one interview with Parton in a hotel suite. As we spoke, I found myself enveloped by her presence. This had nothing to do with sex appeal. Far from it. It was as if I were being mesmerized by a benevolent power. I left the room in a cloud of good feeling. The next day, Siskel and I were sitting next to each other on an airplane. This will sound crazy," he said, "but when I was interviewing Dolly Parton, I almost felt like she had healing powers." Those are strong words from Siskel and Ebert, who've met many, many movie stars over the course of their life. A benevolent healing power. No wonder Saint Dolly is one of her nicknames. Now, I'm not sure if I'm going to lobby for sainthood for Dolly Parton, because she is human and imperfect, just like the rest of us, and we'll get to that in a minute. But I think that Gene Siskel was onto something when he talks about feeling like Dolly Parton and this love that she radiates has healing powers. It is healing to be in the presence of benevolent love. Feeling loved heals something inside of us. If we feel loved, we can put up with all kinds of hardship that may come our way. Knowing that we are loved helps us persevere through hard times, hold on to hope, and pass along that love to others who are in need of it. Art and music like Dolly's can help us feel loved and seen. And it is also, I think, one of the core tasks of a religious community, to create a container that reminds people that love is always right here. And we can have a community of people around us who embody that love for us, even when we have a hard time feeling it for ourselves. The early Universalists knew this. They are one half of our name, right? The Unitarians merged with the Universalists in 1961, and we became Unitarian Universalists. But way back in the 1800s, Unitarians were the urban, upper-class intellectuals living in Boston and Philadelphia and preaching reason and responsibility. And the Universalists were the rural working class preachers who you could find out in small towns preaching about a loving God who would never send anyone to hell. An antidote to the fire and brimstone theology of much of Protestant Christianity at the time. There's this famous story about the Universalist preacher Hosea Ballou, who was out riding one day with a Baptist preacher, and the two were arguing theology. And at one point, the Baptist minister says to him, "Brother Ballou, if I were a Universalist and feared not the fires of hell, I'd hit you over the head and steal your horse and saddle." Ballou then looked over at him and replied, "My brother, if you were a Universalist, the idea would never occur to you." This was Ballou's way of saying that love begets love. And a person who believes they are worthy of love is more likely to see others as worthy of love too, and act accordingly. Dolly Parton, by her words and deeds, seems to be exuding this kind of universalism, a compassionate regard that washes over anyone in her presence. As she put it in an interview with Billboard magazine in 2020, "First of all, I'm not a judgmental person. I do believe we all have a right to be exactly who we are, and it is not my place to judge," she says. "All these good Christian people that are supposed to be such good Christian people, the last thing we're supposed to do is judge one another. God is the judge, not us," she says. "I just try to be myself. I try to let everybody else be themselves." Now, I may not share Dolly Parton's aesthetic, and the expressions of our faith may be very different, and our backgrounds may be wildly different, but nonetheless, I know that she would extend to me the same love and care that she would to anybody else. And this brings me to a second point about Dolly Parton's appeal. Because she is so completely willing to be herself, she gives other people permission to be themselves too. It's amazing how you can flourish when somebody just allows you the space, the non-judgmental space, to become who you want to be. Despite being an avatar of love in the world, she is not a soft-hearted pushover. She knows what she wants and who she wants to be, and she has carefully and intentionally curated her story and her persona to be that person she wants to be. Although she is a musical genius and a savvy businesswoman, she is as famous for her looks as anything else. Blonde hair, big boobs, high heels, and as many rhinestones as she can fit onto a jacket. And she often would make a joke at her own expense just to beat the other person to it. And this was something that brought her a lot of critique, a lot of criticism, as much as admiration. In the era of second wave feminism, Dolly Parton was derided as Hillbilly Barbie, and people made all kinds of assumptions about her based on her larger-than-life persona. But she never gave in. She dressed for herself, not for anyone else. She says she modeled her look after what they called the town tramp in her hometown growing up. She says, "This woman that used to walk the streets had all this makeup and hair, high heel shoes. I thought she was so beautiful. And everybody used to say, 'Oh, she ain't nothing but trash.' And I used to say, 'Well, that's what I'm going to be when I grow up. Trash.'" Where others saw trash, Dolly saw beauty and strength. A woman who owned the street. As one commentator observed, in the world where Dolly grew up, most of the women were expected to be quiet and submissive wives and daughters at the mercy of the men around them. Perhaps the town tramp, as she puts it, was the one woman that Dolly saw who didn't fit that mold, who took up space without asking for permission, and was even perhaps a bit intimidating. And so when Dolly hopped on that bus to Nashville after her high school graduation, she teased up her hair and put on that lipstick and never looked back. And anytime anyone suggested she tone it down, like Devon shared in her reflection, Dolly was quick to show them the door. And once again, in her own words, "It was about me knowing who I was, being happy with me, feeling comfortable in the way I presented myself. If I was happy, I could make other people happy. That's how I've always looked at it, that I look totally artificial, but I am totally real. As a writer, as a professional, as a human being, a rhinestone shines just as good as a diamond. I'll admit that while I've always loved her voice, it took me a while to get past her glamour. As a child raised by a feminist mom to be a liberated woman, I thought authentic for a long time had to mean down to earth, sensible shoes, and natural fibers. But Dolly Parton taught me that a rhinestone is just as real as a diamond, and that there's no such thing as a fake person. There's no such thing as a fake person. We are all real. You can wear rhinestone boots and be humble at the same time. A life of integrity doesn't have to come at the price of joyful self-expression. And this brings me to the third and final thing that I want to appreciate about Dolly Parton this morning, and that is integrity. Integrity is something that we talk a lot about here at the Unitarian Society. It's part of our mission statement that we say every morning, living with integrity. It means living a life that is congruent with your values, that your inner life is in close relationship with your outer life. It's that lifelong process of being a whole person instead of becoming disconnected or compartmentalized. And for Dolly, living with integrity means investing in her hometown. It means keeping strong relationships with her roots, putting her money where she thinks it will make a difference, like the Imagination Library Project or the COVID vaccine. But living with integrity also means being able to accept your imperfections and being willing to change and make amends when something goes wrong. Because none of us is perfect, not even Dolly Parton. For many years, Dolly Parton's entertainment empire ran a dinner show in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, just outside of Dollywood, her theme park. And it was called, for a long time, Dolly Parton's Dixie Stampede. It's no longer called that. But originally, it was like a cross between medieval times and Gone with the Wind. It pitted the North against the South in this sanitized dream world, caught up in the myth of the lost cause without ever once mentioning the enslavement of millions of people. Now, thankfully, as a nation, we are becoming more aware of the whitewashing of American history. And so a dinner show where you could cheer on Confederate soldiers on horseback was being seen for what it was, an homage to white supremacy. And so when this was called out in 2017 by a writer for a Slate magazine, Dolly Parton responded. And in 2018, Dixie was taken out and the show was simply reimagined as Dolly Parton's Stampede. And this is what Dolly had to say about the process of changing the name. When they said Dixie was an offensive word, I thought, well, I don't want to offend anybody. This is a business. We'll just call it the Stampede, she said. As soon as you realize that something is a problem, you should fix it. Don't be a dumbass. That's where my heart is. That is one of the best summaries that I know of how to respond when someone tells you that something you did or said is hurtful. As soon as you realize that you have caused someone hurt or caused someone pain or something that you did is a problem, you should fix it. Don't be, in her words, not mine, a dumbass. Although she has gotten a lot of pushback from some of her white Southern fans who think she's caving to political correctness and a liberal agenda, she is very clear. She is willing to change. And when she knows better, she tries to do better. And this brings us full circle to the place we started. Dolly Parton, by her own admission, is not here to hurt anyone. Her stated goal in life is to do what she can to make people happy with her amusement, her music, her amusement park, her books, her Christmas specials, her sparkling outfits. And she includes herself in that mission to make people happy. She has so much fun doing whatever it is she is doing, it's hard not to have fun right along with her. So this 4th of July, while we're reflecting on the story of this country and all the complex layers of history that we are only just starting to come to terms with, we could do worse than to imagine, what would Dolly do? And if our answer comes down to loving one another, keeping it real, and admitting when we've been wrong and being willing to change, then to quote the song we started with this morning, everything's gonna be all right. It's gonna be okay. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen. So to close our time with Mommy Tonk, we have one more song to share, and this was Dolly Parton's first breakthrough hit in 1967 when she told everybody not to underestimate her with her song Dumb Blonde.
Don't try to cry your way out of this. Don't try to lie, or I'll catch you in it. Don't try to make me feel sorry for you. Just because I'm blonde, don't think I'm dumb, 'cause this dumb blonde ain't nobody's fool. When you left, you thought I'd sit, and you thought I'd wait, and you thought I'd cry. You called me a dumb blonde. Well, somehow I lived through it, and you know, if there's one thing this blonde has learned, blondes have more fun. You flew too high off of the ground in stormy weather and had to come back down. But I found new thread for my old spool. Just because I'm blonde, don't think I'm dumb, 'cause this dumb blonde ain't nobody's fool. When you left, you thought I'd sit, and you thought I'd wait, and you thought I'd cry. You called me a dumb blonde. But somehow I lived through it, and you know, if there's one thing this blonde has learned, blondes have more fun. You flew too high off of the ground in stormy weather and had to come back down. But I found new thread for my old spool. Just because I'm blonde, don't think I'm dumb, 'cause this dumb blonde ain't nobody's fool. Damn straight she ain't. That's $1 in the swear jar. Well, that's a couple dollars if you tell me. God bless you. Thank you. And God bless you too.
This brings us to the end of our time together this morning, reflecting on Dolly Parton, having a little fun. And thank you so much to everyone who helped make this service possible. But before we conclude and before we do our benediction and sing Call Out a Blessing like we do every Sunday, I want to remind folks that we are still raising money for our Church Without Walls campaign so that we can install the technology in our sanctuary to allow us to continue this multi-platform work when we return to in-person services in the fall. And I'd like to invite Justine Sutton just to say a few words about what it means to her to have this multi-platform capability.
Thanks, Reverend Julia. So yeah, for me, as someone with limited mobility, it's been a really lovely thing to be able to just be at home and be cozy and comfortable to watch the service, but especially for me, the coffee hour, because for me, standing for any period of time is just really difficult. So that kind of cocktail party, you know, stand and chat or stand and drink your coffee and chat, I really just can't do it. So I end up having to sit down and then feeling like a wallflower because I'm, you know, sitting on the edge of the room. So this virtual platform, being able to have our coffee hour with the breakout rooms as we do, just works really well for me because I feel completely included. I don't have to worry about my knees hurting. I can sit in comfort at home. So yeah, I just want to say that that means a lot to me. And as much as I look forward to also, of course, being able to be together in person, I love the idea of having the option to also watch from home when I want to do that. So yeah, thank you for everybody's efforts on this campaign.
Thank you, Justine. So I hope that each and every one of you will help make it possible for us to continue to throw our doors open wide in person and virtually this fall and be as inclusive as possible. And you are all invited to stick around for our coffee hour after the service. You can see I'm ready here with my Dolly Parton coffee mug, when we will have a chance to connect and have conversations in small groups. Whether you're a longtime member or whether you're visiting with us this morning, everyone is welcome at our virtual coffee hour after the service. So with that, I would like to invite you to take one more deep breath here. Feel the love of this community radiating just like the love of Dolly Parton. And as you go forth into this beautiful and heartbreaking world, may the light of love shine upon you, out from within you, be gracious unto you, and bring you peace. For this is the day we are given. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. And now, let us call out a blessing. The end of our service, but stick around for some community hour if you need to take a quick break and refill your coffee mug or get a snack. This is a great time to do that, and come right back here and we'll break into small groups. And if you're visiting with us this morning, we have a link to our visitor card in the chat or on Facebook. We would love to get your information so that we can keep you connected to the Unitarian Society. And there's all kinds of things going on here beyond just Sunday morning. We have our beach barbecue coming up in July, on July 16th, a chance for us to get together in person and see each other and hang out at the beach together. We have an art show coming up in August. So if you are not already connected to the Unitarian Society and you want to let us know, we can keep you up to date with everything that's going on around here. And of course, there's also the link to our offertory plate if you haven't had a chance to do that during the service.